Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
You wouldn't think a mini stroke, would have lasting effects.
Right.
I mean, the symptoms disappear quickly, so you'd think you're in the clear.
Yeah.
But get this, new research suggests those transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, could actually be quietly affecting your brain health long term.
Wow.
We're talking about a potential link to cognitive decline down the road.
Hmm.
So if you've been digging into TIAs, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Because this deep dive is going to unpack some pretty surprising findings.
It's true. We used to think TIAs were these harmless blips.
Right.
But this study really challenges that idea.
Okay, so let's break it down.
Yeah.
We're looking at a study featured in JAMA Neurology
Okay.
called Cognitive Decline After First-Time Transient Ischemic Attack.
Right.
Now, the researchers here used data from a massive long-term study that's been tracking over 30,000 people. Essentially, they wanted to see how folks who'd had a TIA fared cognitively over time compared to those who'd had a stroke, and those who hadn't experienced either.
And what they found was pretty alarming.
Oh.
Before we even get to the TIA group,
Yeah.
it turns out the folks who ultimately had a stroke
Yeah.
were already starting with lower cognitive scores before their stroke even happened.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
So even before the big event, there were already signs of trouble brewing.
exactly.
Yeah.
It suggests there might be underlying issues, maybe even silent mini-strokes that are affecting cognition
Yeah.
even before a major stroke occurs.
That's a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
So where do the TIAs fit into all of this?
Well, here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
You might think the TIA group would show an immediate drop in cognitive function
Right.
after the event,
Yeah.
even if it's temporary.
Yeah.
But that's not what they found.
Huh. So no sudden drop.
Nope.
But there's got to be something going on, right?
Yeah.
Why are we even talking about this?
The catch is this. Well, they didn't have that immediate dip.
Right.
The folks who experienced a TIA started showing a gradual decline in cognitive function over time. And get this, their rate of decline
Yeah.
was remarkably similar to the group who had full-blown strokes.
So even though they didn't have a major stroke,
Right.
those mini strokes could still be linked to a decline in brain power later on.
That's right. And to make things even more concerning,
Okay.
both the TIA and stroke groups declined faster than the control group,
Oh, wow.
who hadn't experienced any of these events.
Okay, so this is clearly something we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But what's actually going on in the brain?
Right.
What could explain how these fleeting mini strokes could have these long-term effects?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's likely a complex interplay of factors.
Uh-huh.
One possibility is that even though TIAs don't cause those massive lesions
Yeah.
we see on brain scans after a stroke,
Right.
there could still be some subtle damage happening
Okay.
at a microscopic level.
So damage that's too small to see with our current imaging techniques.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this damage, even if it's subtle,
Yeah.
could have a cumulative effect over time, contributing to cognitive decline.
Okay, so that's one possibility.
Mhm.
What else could be at play here?
Well, we also have to consider the role of neuroinflammation.
Okay.
Essentially, a TIA could trigger an inflammatory response in the brain.
Right.
And we know that inflammation can be really harmful in the long run.
Right. It's like a fire smoldering in the background even after the initial flames are gone.
Oh, yeah.
It can still do a lot of damage over time.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And then there's the blood-brain barrier,
Uh-huh.
which is this incredible shield
Yeah.
that protects your brain from harmful substances.
Right?
Some researchers believe that TIAs might disrupt the integrity
Okay.
of this barrier,
Yeah.
making the brain more vulnerable.
So even if the TIA itself doesn't directly cause lasting damage, it might weaken the brain's defenses, leaving it susceptible to other problems down the line.
Precisely. And we can't forget about the possibility
Okay.
that TIAs might interact with underlying neurodegenerative factors,
Right.
like those involved in Alzheimer's disease.
Uh-huh.
Someone who's already predisposed to a condition like that
Yeah.
might be even more vulnerable to the long-term effects of a TIA.
This is starting to sound like a pretty complex puzzle with a lot of pieces we're still trying to figure out.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this research so important.
Right.
It's pushing us to reevaluate how we think about TIAs and their potential long-term consequences. It's not just about the immediate aftermath of the event.
Right.
It's about understanding how these seemingly minor episodes might be impacting brain health over the course of years.
Right.
Or even decades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty scary, actually.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to be aware of it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, so we can take proactive steps.
Right.
To protect our brain health.
Exactly.
So that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
So we're starting to see that TIAs might not be as benign as we once thought.
Right.
But what does this all mean for, like, our listener?
Yeah.
If you or someone you know has experienced a TIA,
what
are the practical implications of this research?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway here is that we need to take TIA seriously.
Yeah.
In the past, there might have been a tendency to, brush them off.
Right.
Because the symptoms are so fleeting.
Yeah.
But this research tells us that a TIA could be a warning sign, a signal that something needs attention.
So it's not just a get-out-of-jail-free card for your brain.
No.
It's more like a yellow light telling you to slow down and take stock.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
If you've had a TIA, even if you feel completely fine now, it's important to have a conversation with your doctor about what this might mean for your brain health in the long run.
Makes sense. Early detection is key, right?
Absolutely.
What kind of steps can people take to protect their cognitive health after a TIA?
This research really underscores the importance of early intervention.
Okay.
We need more research to figure out the best ways to prevent and treat cognitive decline after a TIA. But there are definitely things we can do right now.
Like what? Give us the good stuff.
Well, a lot of it comes down to lifestyle.
Okay.
We know that things like managing blood pressure, keeping cholesterol in check, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and not smoking are good for overall health. And that includes brain health.
Right. All the things our doctors have been telling us for years.
Exactly.
But it seems like those messages are especially important in light of this research.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of stress management.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chronic stress can do a number on the brain.
Yeah, for sure.
So finding healthy ways to cope, like mindfulness or spending time in nature, can be really beneficial.
You mentioned that more research is needed.
Yeah.
What are some of the promising areas of research that you're particularly excited about?
One area that holds a lot of promise is the study of neuroprotective agents.
Okay.
Substances that can help protect the brain from damage.
So like a shield for our brain cells.
Right.
Sign me up.
There are some promising agents already being studied for stroke and other neurological conditions.
Yeah.
And it's possible that some of these could also help mitigate cognitive decline after a TIA.
Now, the study we've been discussing found that memory seemed to be more affected than verbal fluency in the TIA group. Does this mean there are specific types of cognitive exercises or therapies that might be more beneficial for folks who have experienced a TIA?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
While this particular study didn't dive into that specifically, it does suggest that tailored cognitive interventions might be more effective than a one-size-fits-all approach.
So instead of just general brain training, we might need to target the specific areas that are most vulnerable after a TIA.
Exactly. And this is where further research is really needed. We need to understand how these different cognitive domains are affected and develop personalized therapies that can help people maintain their cognitive function over the long term.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the study didn't definitively prove that TIAs cause dementia.
Yeah, it's an important distinction.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure.
What's the distinction there?
This study showed a link, an association between TIAs and cognitive decline.
Okay.
But it didn't prove a direct cause and effect relationship.
So just because someone has a TSA, it doesn't mean they're guaranteed to develop dementia.
Exactly. There are many other factors that can contribute to dementia. Like genetics, lifestyle, and other medical conditions. Having a TIA doesn't automatically mean you're destined for cognitive decline. But it does raise a red flag. It's a sign that it's time to pay attention to your brain health. And take steps to protect it.
It sounds like there's still a lot we don't know about the connection between TIAs and cognitive decline.
Yeah, I agree.
But this research is certainly a wake-up call. It tells us that these mini strokes might have a bigger impact than we realized.
Absolutely. And the more we learn about the brain and how it responds to these events, the better equipped we'll be to develop effective prevention and treatment strategies.
For sure. Okay, well, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll come back.
Sounds good.
And wrap things up. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
We often think about strokes as these big dramatic events.
Right.
But now we're seeing that even these seemingly minor TIAs can have a ripple effect on cognitive health over time.
It really challenges our assumptions about what constitutes a significant brain event.
Right.
And it highlights the incredible resilience of the brain, but also its vulnerability.
Yeah.
It can bounce back from these temporary interruptions in blood flow.
Right.
But it seems like there might be a cumulative toll that we haven't fully appreciated before.
It's like those tiny cracks in a foundation.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned earlier.
Right.
Individually, they might not seem like much, but over time, they can weaken the entire structure.
Absolutely.
So what can people do to protect their brain health?
Right.
And maybe even reduce their risk of these events in the first place?
Well, a lot of the same things that are good for your heart are also good for your brain.
Yeah.
Things like maintaining a healthy blood pressure.
Right.
Keeping your cholesterol in check. Eating a balanced diet.
Yeah.
Getting regular exercise. And, of course, not smoking.
All the usual suspects. But sometimes it takes a study like this to really drive the point home.
I agree. And it's not just about physical health.
Right.
Managing stress is crucial, too.
Yeah.
Chronic stress can take a toll on the brain.
Yeah, for sure.
And even contribute to high blood pressure.
Right.
So finding healthy ways to cope, like mindfulness meditation, or even just spending time in nature, can be really beneficial for brain health.
And of course, if you experience any symptoms, that could be a TIA.
Right.
Even if they disappear quickly.
Yeah.
It's crucial to seek medical attention immediately.
Absolutely. Early intervention is key.
Yeah.
The sooner you address any potential issues with blood flow to the brain, the better your chances of preventing further damage.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And I think our listener now has a much better understanding of TIAs, their potential long-term impact, and what they can do to protect their brain health.
I hope so.
But before we wrap up,
I
wanted to circle back to something you said earlier about how this research challenges our assumptions. It's a good reminder that we're still learning so much about the brain.
We are.
And there's always more to discover.
Absolutely. The brain is an incredibly complex organ.
For sure.
And we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of its mysteries.
Yeah, it really is amazing.
This study is a testament to the power of scientific inquiry and the importance of continuing to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and seek new knowledge.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of TIAs and cognitive health.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a real eye-opener. Remember, even though TIAs are transient, their impact can be lasting.
Right.
Take care of your brain, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To-Do Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed.